I kept telling Mr. Beam, I said, Mr. Beam, I sure would appreciate it if you'd let me know in advance when you're going to buy 25 tractors or 100 trailers. That'd make my job a little bit easier. But he never did.
In 1982 was the grand opening of this museum, and it was the 50-year anniversary of the trucking company, so they had the two events to coincide with each other.
And that's what it took for us to Carolina Freight to be different than the other ones that couldn't make it, because all they would do is just go walk into a shipper and say, hey, give me freight, and give them some scratch pads. They didn't really offer any benefits to the shipper. Why should I use you?
But Yellow and Roadway just closed. They put $5.9 billion worth of freight on the street, and they eliminated 30,000 jobs, including union and non-union.
Today on the Wise News Network, we are located in Cherryville, North Carolina at the Beam Truck Museum, which used to be the headquarters for Carolina Freight in Cherryville, North Carolina. And at one time, they had over 11,000 employees.
That's right, Rusty. We're here at the 13th annual reunion of former Carolina Freight workers. Now, Rusty, do you know when Carolina Freight left the area?
It left in 1995. It was started by C. Greer Beam in 1931 as Beam Trucking, and then later incorporated as Carolina Freight Carriers. And they were at the top, one of the top 10 carriers in the nation. So Cherryville, North Carolina was the headquarters, and I think around 2,500 people worked in Cherryville, but they had employees totaling over 11,000 nationwide.
Wow, that is very impressive. I'm really excited to get to know some of the former workers who used to work for Carolina Freight and listen to some of their stories. It should be a very interesting day.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to talk to some of the employees. Like you say, it was started in 1931. It was started by Greer Beam. He had 1.5-ton Chevrolet pickup truck.
Wow. By
himself, and then it slowly grew. Very, very large corporation in Cherryville. A small town of 6,000 people now, but they hired or employed over 11,000 people.
Wow. And there's so many beautiful trucks in here. Do you know how many trucks they had on staff?
You know, at one time it was in the thousands. It's like 4,000 tractors and like 12,000 trailers, I think.
Wow. Very impressive. I'm very excited to get to learn a little bit more about Cherryville's standing in the trucking industry today.
Yeah, we're going to be talking to a lot of people. Their 13th annual, and it's going to be a great day. I think they're meeting here. A few of the employees are meeting here at the Truck Museum, and then later today at lunch, they're going to be at the Baptist Church for a presentation or ceremony or a reunion type event.
I'm so glad these folks are able to get together and commiserate about what they used to do for a living. I think it's really, really spectacular.
Yeah, well, let's get started. We're here with Stan Bumgarner, which is the director or co-director of the museum. Tell us a little bit about the museum.
Well, the museum was built, well, it was opened in 1982. We just celebrated our 40-year anniversary. And it's really a tribute to Mr. Beam and Carolina Freight and what he accomplished and what it meant to the town of Cherryville and to a lot of towns and cities all over the United States, because they had quite a few terminals. And a lot of people working for them, and they were a really large trucking company, solidly in the top 10 for many, many years. And we have 14 trucks here, the oldest one being a 1927 Chevrolet, and the years go up from there. And we have our hours are 10 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock in the morning on Thursday and Friday and Saturday of each week. And we can open. If a group or somebody has a special need to come on another day when we're not open, we try to accommodate people for that. And of course, we have special functions. We sponsor a big car show, which we just did, and we really went well. We had 100 classic cars show up. Last week we had the Horseless Carriage Club here with about 47 cars, 1927 and down. That was pretty interesting. And today we are in the middle of the Carolina Freight Reunion, which we do every year. They come here first in the mornings, and then we go over to the First Baptist Church, and they have a big meal over there. And the guys love to come here in the morning and sit and reminisce and talk about Carolina Freight and the days that they worked there.
So basically, there's employees from all across the nation that come here and was employed, like over 11,000 employees.
Oh, yeah.
I saw. Now, do you have the original truck that Mr. Beam had?
Well, it's an identical replica of the truck that he had. And I don't know the full story on the restoration of the truck, but I know they've had it a lot of years. And I know that when they had a parade in 1982 was the grand opening of this museum, and it was the 50-year anniversary of the trucking company. So they had the two events to coincide with each other. And Mr. Beam drove that truck in the parade, and the man sitting beside him was Mr. Tom Bergen, who was a Lincolnton auto salesman who had sold him the truck 50 years earlier. So.
Oh, that's very neat. Now, the other building next to us, that's the original building, yeah, I guess, where they started.
That building was a service station, an operating Shell service station that was owned by Guy Beam. Guy was Greer's brother, and Guy allowed Greer to use a part of that as his office and to have his first terminal here. And for the first, from 1932 to 1935, they used the stake body box trucks, just, the 1.5 ton trucks. But in 35 is when they started getting tractor trailers. The very first tractor trailer Carolina ever had was a 1935 International, and we have one of those here at the museum.
Well, we're going to walk around, show the people some of the trucks and the original office and that sort of stuff. Stan, appreciate you speaking with us. Anything else you'd like to say?
We'd just like to tell people that we'll be glad to give you a tour, let you look at the trucks, and if you got groups like school classrooms, special groups, or if you're traveling in from somewhere else and you need to be here on a day when we're not open or something, we have numbers you can call. You can get on our website, but we'll do our best to accommodate you and love to see you.
So I had a lot of good times, and I finally got enough seniority to run south and run into Florida. And so I like Florida real well. It's flat and level, and I live down there now all the time. And I bought a home in Flagler Beach, Florida. And so we live there, and we've been there for 21, 22 years. And I enjoy it, have a good time. And I live close to the intercoastal waterways. You don't know what that is. It's big, like a big road, big waterways. And we live right beside of it. And I can sit there in my recliner and watch the big boats go up and down, and it's bored. Some people that'd be boring, but I enjoy it. I like to see the big boats and stuff, and just good.
I'm sure it's very peaceful. Did you get introduced to that area through your work with Carolina Freight?
Yes. Yeah, we started. I started running south when I got seniority. You could go south, and I had a friend living in Fort Myers. I went to school with him, and we'd go over there and we'd spend the night with Stan, and then go over there and drive over there, and then come back by there and stop. And so I told him one day, I said, "How about find me a place down here?" And lo and behold, the woman right beside of him, next to the intercoastal, she decided she's going to. She went to her class reunion and fell in love with somebody there, and so we bought that house from her, and so been there 22 years, and I like it. It's my home now, and like I said, still got a place over here in Bethlehem, but we still come up here once in a while when we want to, and just travel around. You get old. I'm 82 years old, and I'm proud to be this old. I had a good life. I'm healthy, and my doctor told me here some time back, said, I don't know what you're doing. I said, what are you starting on me for? He said, I'm just telling you the truth. He said, you're the healthiest person I've got in my school. He said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. He said, and you're 82 years old. He said, I can't believe you're that old and that this healthy. I said, clean living. He said, he just put his hands up there. He said, oh, Lord.
Is that your secret? Just live clean and live happy?
Yep. That's it. That's my secret.
How long have you been coming to these reunions, or is this your first one?
Oh, no. I worked for Carolina for 28 years. Used to live over what they call Bethlehem. It's over here on the other side of Hickory. And I used to drive over here 42 miles every day. I'd come to work. I didn't drive 42 miles over here. And like I said, a lot of people said, why don't you move over there? I said, I don't want to move over there. I had my daddy's farm, and I like to live over there. And I had a fish pond behind my house, and I still got it. And when we want to come up here, we come and just to enjoy ourselves and have a good time.
My name's Hillard Wise. I lived right down beside Greer Beam when I was a young boy. But I didn't go to driving until I was 30 years old, I reckon. And
you retired in what, 1994?
I retired right at 95 when Carolina was getting ready to sell out. And when I retired, when I had about 30 years, I was gone. I had my days numbered.
My name is Robert Linhart, Director of Outside Maintenance, Administration, Fuel, and 36 and a half years at Carolina Freight. I'm a combat war veteran. I got hurt in Korea when I was 20 years old. I came out, and Mr. Beam, I grew up within a mile of where the owners of the company started the company. And Greer told me I'd have a job when I got through with my GI Bill college. And I could tell you a lot about this company. I probably know more about it than anybody up front. That was the management. And we had the best figures of any maintenance division of other trucking companies because we compared figures, and our fuel prices were better. Our maintenance, the reason that Carolina failed was because they brought in bad management. The beams died out, and top management didn't know how to run the company. They brought in people that came from companies that already went broke. So I'm a little perturbed about that, but I learned a lot, and it taught me a lot. So I'm thankful for Carolina Freight. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about what's going on today with this amazing annual reunion that we have going on here.
This is something the museum puts on yearly, 13th, and they get everybody together that can come and just have a great fellowship time with the remnant, really, of the older gentlemen that are still left with this company. That was such a great company to work for. They'll tell you this, and I'm gonna echo that same sentiment. And that it's just great to be part of the memories that this museum has and the memories they have during their jobs during the years they worked for this company.
Absolutely. And I was looking around signs earlier today. This used to be the headquarters for the company. Am I correct?
It was part of that. They developed it, as Stan was telling Rusty, in 1982, or 82 or 84. So anyway, where did they get all this equipment from and keep it in such magnificent, condition? It's unbelievable. And this is really just a testimony to the founder, Greer Beam. And then what happened after that was just remarkable with the growth of the company until it got bought up in '94.
Absolutely. And it looks like these folks really have a close brotherhood, if you will. What do you think made them have this kind of a relationship?
It was such a good company to work for that the camaraderie just kind of developed because of the fact that they were so grateful that they had good paying jobs. They were members of the union, and that business was booming. And they were running their runs and picking up and delivering freight. And as a sales guy, I would go out and tell the customers that we got the best drivers, and when we pull up to your dock, they are really they're really more of a salesman than I am, because they're the ones that are dealing with your freight and talking to your shipping and receiving people. And so their idea of representing Carolina Freight is huge to you as the shipper. I'm just walking in here telling you I want to earn your business, but they're the ones right there in the front line that really make a difference.
Absolutely. And the trucking industry in North Carolina is so important for our history. How did Carolina Freight specifically play into that?
Well, there were a lot of regional carriers that are gone. And over the years, they couldn't make it because they didn't have the marketing wherewithal to change during a period of changing times that allowed Carolina Freight to do something different. So as a sales guy, marketing is the key to your growth. And so the key glory years were from 75 to like maybe 80, 88, something like that. And it was all because of the marketing skills of a vice president of sales who happens to be my father-in-law, Jim Eaton. And he just developed a sales force, gave presentations and seminars. And that's what it took for us Carolina Freight to be different than the other ones that couldn't make it, because all they would do is just go walk into a shipper and say, hey, give me freight, and give them some scratch pads. But they didn't really offer any benefits to the shipper. Why should I use you? All you guys are doing the same thing. So he changed that mentality, and that's why, as I said earlier, these guys had such great growth and security in their jobs, is because marketing drove the growth of that company over those years. And I don't know what the sales was, but it kind of would have had to have tripled. So anyway, give credit to my father-in-law, Jim Eaton, for doing that for Carolina Freight.
It seems like he created an amazing business model. And now, kind of on a different track, what is your favorite part of coming to these reunions?
Well, as a sales guy, most of these guys are drivers and dock workers and P&D guys, whereas there's just a few people in the office. So I have to kind of change roles a little bit and go from being like an office guy to being the blue collar guy. Because I remember when I was back then in those days, you wore a suit. You wore a suit every day when you went out and made your sales calls. So these guys were out there. They were the blue collar guys, like I said before, being our representatives out in the marketplace with the shippers. So I just have to kind of meet some new friends, and there may be a few people here from the office, but probably very few.
Do you have anything you want to tell our viewers about the reunion, about Carolina Freight in general, something maybe most people might not know about the company?
Folks, the company is a historical landmark. especially here for Cherryville. And I know these guys are so sad that it had to end the way it did when they got bought out, and the new owners closed down the terminal over here on Main Street. And that was a sad day for Cherryville because Carolina Freight was the biggest employer here in town. And so this reunion, it just brings back those memories of the good things that I said. And you can't take that away from these guys. They lived it. It's inbred, and there's just so much appreciation for that up to the point where it did change. So I would say the museum does a great job. They're open a couple days a week, and I just hope they keep doing this until it fizzles out totally. Because every year these guys are getting older and older, and there's less and less that are able to make it. And I think we're going to have about 100 here today, so that's great.
My name is Harold Smith. I was the treasurer of Carolina Freight for several years, worked closely with Greer Beam, and when he bought all of his tractors, I was a fellow who had to figure out how to pay for them. And I kept telling Mr. Beam, I said, Mr. Beam, I sure would appreciate it if you'd let me know in advance when you're going to buy 25 tractors or 100 trailers. It'd make my job a little bit easier. But he never did. He did what he wanted to do, and he knew what he could do, and he was a tough man. But I did find out. I went with him on a convention one time, and away from work, and man, he was a different fella. I mean, he was a likable fella. I mean, I just enjoyed him so much, and he was so friendly and jolly and just the life of the party. But at work time, he was a different guy. I mean, he was all business, and he was about as tough a guy as I've ever worked with, and he cut through the bull crap pretty quickly. So I enjoyed. I worked for 9 years with Carolina Freight. It was a great company, great people, and just loved it. It was a sad day when they sold and left Cherryville. So,
what do you think about the reunion here? Have you come every year?
This is my first year.
Oh, okay.
And, I really didn't know about it. I live in Pawleys Island, South Carolina, down there on the beach, and been retired now for a long time, and I just by accident was had a Facebook with a friend that used to work with us, and they were telling us about this reunion, and so this is my first year, and I'm excited. Unfortunately, most of the folks I work with have passed away, but there's still a few left, so I'm looking forward to our dinner together. So this has been great, and seeing these old trucks and
brings back a lot of old memories, I'm sure.
It does. I tell you what, it's great memories of Carolina Freight. It was a great company, great people.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
Can I have everyone's attention, please? We're going to try to get this started here. This is our 13th annual event. We thought about changing it to the 14th because the 13th is such a good number to use, but it is the 13th, so that's what it is. Celebration to acknowledge the years of service of each of you who gave so much to the Carolina Freight family. It's an opportunity to enjoy old friends and reminisce about the good old days. I came over here yesterday. I don't know if this means anything or not, but there were buzzards flying over the top of the building. So I didn't see them today, so apparently they didn't get the news that we're coming back. But this time we'd like to recognize our pastor from the church to say a prayer for us. But
on behalf of the First Baptist Church at Cherryville, we thank you all for being here. We praise the Lord for Carolina Freight, for all the jobs it provided, the shelter it provided, the insurance it provided, the income, the family, the fellowship. We're grateful for you being here today. We're going to have a blessing upon the food, and we just pray that you guys have a great time fellowshipping and reminiscing today.
Good afternoon. It's always a pleasure to be in front of and with my Carolina Freight associates. And it's hard to believe that 1995 was our last year in business and the first year we ever achieved $1 billion in revenue. But as a young child, I often found myself out to dinner with Greer and Lena Sue Beam and Dewey and Sally Beam, me and Mom and Dad, because Dewey and Sally didn't have any children and my parents were married 11 years before I was born. So I was the youngest of the group. And one of the funniest things I noticed, my dad had pointed it out to me, when we would go out to dinner, Mom and Dad and me with Dewey and Sally and Greer, Lena Sue, when the waitress or waiter was bringing the bill to the table, whoever saw the bill coming first, the other brother would run to the restroom. So if Dewey saw the bill first, he'd run to the restroom so he could stick Greer with the bill. And I saw that happen many, many times. I can't sit down without saying this. If you read earlier this year, the two final companies that put in the hub and spoke relay system, Roadway and Yella, got married to stay in business an extra 15 years after the hub and spoke forced Carolina Freight to either sell out or to file Chapter 11 and reorganize the company. But Yella and Roadway just closed. They put $5.9 billion worth of freight on the street, and they eliminated 30,000 jobs, including union and non-union. So that seals the deal right there. The top 10 companies, with the exception of two, all went out of business because they put in a hub and spoke relay. And as much as I hate to say this, because he was a good friend of mine and we had a wonderful relationship, the hub and spoke relay system was 100% Ken Younger's idea, and it killed the company. It forced the company to be sold. My father fought with him for 2 years, and Ken Younger, when he succeeded my dad as CEO, was able to outmaneuver Dad, and he got the board to approve it. And at the time, we were making money. We had $100 million in credit lines. We had $50 million in cash, and the hub and spoke took it all away between 88 and 95 when the company was sold. And the only trucking company out of the top 10 that never put in the hub and spoke, guess who they are? ABF Freight Systems, the company that bought us for $11 a share. And when my father retired as CEO in 1985, the stock was $56 a share. And that's a sad ending, but that's the way it was. But ABF has left FleetNet in Cherryville, and I understand that they've just sold FleetNet, but they're still going to keep the headquarters here, is what I'm told. So ABF has been kind to Carolina in many ways, that's about 300, 350 good paying jobs that are still here with the ABF connection. But it's wonderful to see everybody and be with you today. And
two different companies. One was Carolina Freight. The one for Carolina Freight guy who did not have what he's got today. And I worked there 26 years. I worked with a bunch of good people. I got names. I could talk for 15 minutes. But we had a good group of people. We always got along good together. You know, Ken loved me good always, so he took care of me. I thought a lot of Ken loved me. He was over the supervisor at the dock. He called me one day, I was working on the dock, and he said, Guy, I got an opportunity for you. That's what I said. He said, I'd like for you to be the supervisor of the dock. And, you know, coming from the guy that worked at the race on the Door Mill Hill, I was tickled to death to get the job. But I'm blessed again to have two different jobs. One's for Carolina Freight, and one is a professional fisherman. And also blessed with a family a lot of people don't have like I have.
Came on board with Carolina Freight back in 1965. I gave up a pretty good job as a sales representative with a company called to come to Carolina. Carolina was hired docking. I knew I had to start all over. I gave up that job, came to Carolina, and sat at the warehouse for 10 days waiting for my name to be called. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They finally called my name, and I came to work in September of 1965, and worked my way up the ladder. And about a year and a half later, got hired regularly, joined the union. But I was asked to take a supervisor job, just like Guy did. I took that job, and my success story is I went on to raise my family. Valerie's here tonight. This afternoon, I'm going to have her speak. But the success story is Valerie, what she's done with her life. She's a missionary in Australia, but she's a Carolina Freight employee.
I remember us being quiet in the basement because we had to be quiet because Dad had worked all night. And I have a lot of memories of this. I had to always be quiet. And some of you, I probably taught your kids and grandkids swimming lessons. I worked at Club Carolina for several years as a lifeguard. I went to UNC Carolina. I don't take that against me, state fans, but I had a degree in television production. I got back and realized that there was not many careers for me in that job. I worked at WLON for a few years. And if you remember, they started the telemarketing department. And I think it was very successful because there's a lot of areas that salesmen don't want to go into. And I'll tell you where my terminal was, Detroit, Michigan. Not too many sales reps want to go into some of the areas of Detroit. And Carolina Freight gave me the opportunity to fly to Detroit. And I got to ride in the trucks with the drivers, and I got to see some of my customers that I had been talking on the phone. And I think I got a lot of sales because I'm like this little southern girl that would call them and ask for their business. I was given the opportunity to go into outside account management, and I actually went to the terminal in Florence, South Carolina. So back in the 90s, I was the only female in the whole area, and I was the only woman that was in sales, and I worked for Carolina Freight.
If I could get everyone's attention, I'm going to make a few announcements. And while John's finishing up, one of the reasons I wanted to do this is we want to remember Sandy Dismukes. And Sandy passed away a month and a half or so ago. She worked at Carolina for 28 years. I know a lot of you knew her. And to be honest with you, this reunion, Sandy was one of the really instrumental people in getting this thing started and played a great part. And she worked at the museum for 14 years after a whole career at Carolina Freight. And she loved Carolina. She loved the museum. She loved doing this reunion every year. And when Kathy and I, by the way, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Stan Bumgarner. My wife Kathy and I are the co-directors of the C. Greer Beam Truck Museum. And Sandy was really a help to us when we started transitioning over to do their job. And they were big shoes we had to fill. And just wanted to say something special about her today because the part she played, the role she played in everything that she did so far as not only the museum, but this reunion. And this is something I know y'all look forward to every year. And I mean, she was really one of the instigators of getting all this started. So we'd just like to thank her.